Start with a name that defined British retail for more than 200 years. W. H. Smith opened its first shop in 1792. It survived industrialization. It survived world wars. It survived supermarkets, shopping centers, and the rise of the internet. But by 2025, W. H. Smith disappeared entirely from UK high streets. It didn't go bankrupt. It didn't collapse. It exited. The company made a deliberate decision that operating traditional high street shops no longer made financial sense. So it sold the entire high street division to private equity firm Modella Capital. Around 20 stores closed immediately. The rest were rebranded as T.G. Jones under new ownership. For customers, the inside of the shops still feels familiar. Newspapers, stationery, snacks near the tills. But the W. H. Smith name itself, the one that existed before railways and mass retail, is gone from the high street completely. The company now focuses exclusively on travel locations. Airports, train stations, motorway services, places where customers are captive, footfall is guaranteed, and higher prices are tolerated. The traditional high street where shoppers could browse, compare, and walk away became a liability instead of an asset. This wasn't a rescue, and it wasn't a failure. It was a calculated withdrawal, and it happened so quietly that many people only noticed when the signs changed. Homebase shows what happens when exit isn't clean. The DIY chain entered administration in November 2024. By March 2025, the Homebase brand had effectively vanished from the UK retail landscape. The speed was brutal. When administrators were appointed, 74 stores faced immediate risk. By January 2025, 13 had already closed. February brought another 33 closures. And on March 22nd, the final 4 original Homebase stores shut for good. 65 stores gone in just over 3 months. One closure roughly every day and a half. Bradford, Coventry, London, Wolverhampton, Chester, Norwich, Belfast, Gateshead. Entire regions lost major retail anchors almost overnight. Other companies wanted the sites. CDS Superstores, the owner of the range, bought up to 70 locations and the Homebase brand name itself. Some stores became the range. Others reopened under the Homebase name with new management. B&Q picked up 5 sites. Sainsbury's acquired 10. Wickes took 4. But the original Homebase business was finished. Everyone wanted the property. Nobody wanted the company. The collapse had been years in the making. In 2016, Australian retail giant Wesfarmers bought Homebase and attempted to convert the chain into the Bunnings warehouse format. The experiment failed catastrophically, burning hundreds of millions of pounds. In 2018, Homebase was sold to restructuring firm Wilko for £1. Wilko tried everything: store closures, cost-cutting, layout changes, a company voluntary arrangement that shut dozens of locations. Losses still mounted. By 2022, Homebase was losing more than £40 million a year. By 2024, there was no viable buyer left. Administration was inevitable. Wilko didn't restructure, it didn't retreat, it disappeared. In 2023, the family-owned retailer collapsed completely. More than 400 stores closed. 12,000 jobs vanished almost overnight. Wilko wasn't a failing brand in the public imagination. It sold everyday essentials. It had loyal customers. It felt stable. But stability meant nothing once margins collapsed. Rising costs finished what years of underinvestment had started. Wilko didn't shrink. It was erased. Poundland followed a similar path, but even faster. In June 2025, the discount chain was sold for £1 to investment firm Gordon Brothers. This wasn't symbolic. It was an emergency sale completed days before the business would have run out of cash entirely. The restructuring plan was immediate and ruthless. Close 68 shops. Shut 2 warehouses. Cut 1,300 jobs. Exit frozen food logistics. Shut down online operations. Simplify pricing. By September, 57 stores had already closed. A temporary pause delayed a handful of others, but the direction never changed. Leases expired. Landlords refused renewals. Stores quietly disappeared. By the start of 2026, more than 100 Poundland locations were gone. A chain that once operated around 800 stores now runs closer to 650. Each closure follows the same pattern: clearance signs, Everything must go banners. Discounts to liquidate stock before the doors close for the last time. Kilmarnock, Coatbridge, Twickenham, Rochdale, Leicester, Tenby, Blackpool, Carlisle, Peckham, Tenby. 14 more closures confirmed in just the first 2 months of 2026. Poundland tried to expand beyond its original model. Chilled food, frozen ranges, broader grocery lines. But infrastructure costs exploded. Energy bills rose. Wages climbed. Employer national insurance increased. Aldi and Lidl undercut prices anyway. Margins disappeared. Gordon Brothers' strategy is simple: shrink to survive. Close anything that doesn't turn a profit. Strip the business back to something that might still work. But every closure removes affordable retail from communities that already have fewer options. River Island didn't collapse. It retreated. And the speed of that retreat shocked the industry. In January 2026 alone, 33 River Island stores shut their doors. 1 month. Not phased, not gradual. The company still operates over 200 locations across the UK and Ireland. It still employs thousands of people, but the underlying numbers tell the real story. In 2023, River Island reported losses of more than £33 million after a sharp drop in sales. The explanation was straightforward. Customers moved online, footfall collapsed, but rents, energy costs, and wages stayed high. The 33 closures represented roughly 15% of the estate. This wasn't temporary trimming, it was a structural reset. The remaining stores now operate under constant pressure. Every location must perform. If it doesn't, it becomes the next candidate. River Island isn't disappearing, but it's no longer a high street first business. It's an online retailer that keeps physical stores only where the numbers work. And that shift matters, because fashion once anchored the high street. When clothing chains retreat, surrounding foot traffic collapses with them. Claire's shows what happens when sentiment meets reality. In 2025, the U.S. parent company entered bankruptcy. The UK arm followed. Administrators stepped in. 145 stores closed permanently. Around 1,000 jobs vanished. Modella Capital rescued 156 locations. The rest were written off. For many people, this felt personal. Claire's wasn't just a shop. It was ear piercings, school holiday trips, birthday money spent badly and happily. But nostalgia doesn't pay rent. Teen shoppers didn't disappear. They migrated. To Amazon, to fast fashion platforms, to social commerce driven by influencers and algorithms. Claire's problem wasn't demand. It was distribution. Hundreds of small stores in declining town centers simply couldn't survive once footfall disappeared. The brand lived on, the footprint didn't. Leon proved that even good brands aren't immune. Healthy fast food, ethical sourcing, strong identity, loyal customers. And still, around 20 UK locations closed after the business was bought back from Asda in late 2025. Out of 71 restaurants, the worst performers were cut, not because the brand failed, but because costs rose faster than customers were willing to spend. Relevance doesn't override math. If a location can't cover rent, wages, and energy, values don't save it. Select Fashion shows the other end of the spectrum. In 2025, the retailer entered liquidation. All 80 stores closed. Every job lost. The brand vanished entirely. No rescue, no buyer, no headlines, just disappearance. Select couldn't compete on price, speed, or convenience. And in modern retail, that means extinction. Trespass represents the slow erosion model. Not collapse, not administration, just steady contraction. 12 closures in 2024, more in 2025, more in 2026, one lease at a time. This is how many retailers will disappear. Then the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Pizza Hut closed 68 UK locations. Starbucks quietly shut underperforming stores. Amazon Fresh abandoned physical grocery retail entirely in the UK. Even Amazon couldn't make the economics work. If Amazon can't justify a high street presence, that tells you everything. This isn't just about people shopping online. It's about stacked pressure. Rents tied to pre-pandemic valuations. Energy costs that reset permanently higher. Rising wages. Higher employer national insurance. Punitive business rates, weaker consumer spending. Retail margins were thin even in good years. Under sustained pressure, they collapse. The high street wasn't built for how people live now, and it's being reshaped accordingly. By 2030, British town centers will look nothing like they did in 2010. Fewer shops, more mixed-use spaces, more housing, more services, less retail employment, more automation. This isn't the end of retail, but it is the end of the high street as people remember it. And most won't realize what's gone until it's already disappeared.